Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Today we're taking a look at this thing. It is the Fernweh by Ezhi&Aka, a lo-fi modular delay pedal. As you can tell, there's a lot going on, which is why I'm talking instead of you reading some text, because I can't be bothered to write everything down about what's going on inside and outside this pedal. So you're going to have to put up with my voice instead. So what the Fernweh basically is four lo-fi delay circuits and a lo-fi cassette-ish looper. It's all color coded, so the yellow knobs and the yellow on the patch bay represents Mr. Nice, which is one of the delay modules, which is warm sounding lo-fi delay with modulation and a fuzz, if you choose to use that. The blue pedal or circuit is Mr. Glitchy, which is sort of similar to the seppuku memory loss. And then we have Mr. Clap, the green module, which is a rhythmic delay. It latches onto your incoming signal, especially if you like really dig into the strings, and then it repeats that that pattern indefinitely. Or for quite some time. The red circuit is Mr. Arcade, a very interesting delay. It's a delay without a time knob, or the time knob is not located on the pedal itself. Then we have a lo-fi looper, which is the black, these two black knobs, and this is the corresponding patch bay down here. This is your bypass switch, by the way, for the entire pedal, and this is your clean signal volume, which is fairly easy to set. This is basically unity at around 230. So let's get on to the looper. Now the looper, these two stomps controls the looper. This records the loop. You can record about 20 seconds of sounds, and this engages the looper. This knob right here is the volume of the loop, and this controls the speed of the loop. Now, as you will notice, this is not your regular looper. It's not a ditto, it's not an infinity looper or anything like that. It is very lo-fi, and it works more like a cassette loop than, I guess, a digital loop. What that means is that when the loop stops playing, or you get to the end of the loop, it stops and then it goes back and plays it again. It's not continuous in a way. It's more like a tape where you play and then you rewind it and then you play it again. So this is not something that you'd use in your traditional band context, because you will have a few 100 milliseconds of silence between each loop. But again, this isn't like your regular delay pedal either. It is very experimental, and I would say fun is like the key word here. It's about having fun with delays and sounds. So let's talk about the patch bay for a little while. Now, if you're not familiar with synthesizers or modular synths, this might seem a bit more overwhelming than what it really is. Basically, everything is color coded to correspond to the circuit. So all you have to remember is which row is what. Now this is your dry out. This is where your guitar or bass or synthesizer or whatever comes out, and then you plug it into the effects. Now we're plugged into the looper, and this is your effects out. Did I call this effects out? I meant effects in. And finally, this is the mixer in. So when I plug into this, my signal will go into the looper and then out through the main output of the pedal. So let's record something onto the looper, and then we'll play it back. So up or speed it down, right? And it can go very slowly. Turn up the volume a little bit. Of course, you can still play Next up we have Mr. Arcade. So we go FX, no, dry out, FX in, FX out, mixer again. Now, Mr. Arcade doesn't have a time knob on the pedal. It's located on this controller. So you have feedback, right, and you have volume. And then on the controller you have two time knobs and two buttons that engages the time set by the corresponding delay time knob. So you can jump instantaneously between two delay times. So let's just make this a little bit slower and this a little bit faster. First, let's listen to the set delay time of Mr. Arcade. Sort of slapback-ish. You get the gist of it. Let's move on to Mr. Clap. Now, Mr. Clap doesn't work that well with my guitar because my guitar has very low output pickups, but I'll try to dig in and see if we can get some sounds out of it anyways. So this controls the time of your rhythm, and then this is the volume. So as you can hear, it's turn down my clean signal. So next up we have Mr. Glitchy. Mr. Glitchy, as you can tell, is very lo-fi and makes a lot of noise, which is fun. So this is your time knob, your volume knob, your feedback knob, and this is your glitch knob, and this is linked to this stomp right here, this momentary stomp. So this sets the amount of glitch. So let's just have a listen to it. I'm just going to turn the delay time down a little bit and the feedback. Let's turn the delay time a little bit. Get a little crusty. where you start getting a lot of clocking. Finally, at the top here we have Mr. Nice. Mr. Nice is it is lo-fi, but it is the cleanest sounding delay of them all. A lot warmer than the other delays. So you have your time knob, feedback knob, and volume. Now this row down here, this is part of Mr. Wobbly. Mr. Wobbly is a pitch modulator, basically, and it's connected to Mr. Nice. So this is your depth knob, so when it is set to minimum like this, you just have Mr. Nice. But when you start adding a bit of modulation, you get weirdness. So let's do the same chords again. this is the depth of the modulation. This changes the shape. So you have 8 shapes here, like random, you have triangle, sine wave, square wave, half sine up, half sine down, and a few others, I suppose. And this is your speed knob. You can either change your speed manually here, or you can tap tempo it here. And this changes the range of the LFO, the speed range, and this adds fuzz, and we will do that after we've had a look at the modulation section. Let's check out the range on Mr. Nice first. So this is your delay time. Let's set it to noon. See what that sounds like. Modulation. Let's go. Let's try cranking some stuff. See what happens. So now that we've gone through all of the circuits one by one, it's time to start looking at how you can pair them and what you can actually do with this patch bay. Of course, what you can do is go run them in parallel, no, in series, right? So you can go effects out, and then you go into the input of another delay, and then from there you go effects out and into the mixer. So what that means in terms of sound is that the dry signal doesn't pass through Mr. Glitchy. It only passes through Mr. Nice. So now I can have a long delay time on Mr. Nice and a short delay time on Mr. Glitchy. So when I hit a note, you will have like a pause before you hear the first delay of Mr. Glitchy, and then that repeat will hit the Mr. Glitchy circuit, which I have set on a fairly low delay time. So let's see what that sounds like. Just going to turn up the feedback a little bit on Mr. Glitchy so it's easier to hear. Modulation to Mr. Nice. A little bit more maybe. You can also run the circuits in parallel. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm running Mr. Arcade and Mr. Nice in parallel. So you will hear them both at, or the dry signal will hit them both at the same time. Okay, so what I want to do now is connect Mr. Arcade to the looper so I can record Mr. Arcade. But I would also like to hear Mr. Arcade before I start looping. So what I did is I simply connected two of these patch cables together by unscrewing this the screw right here and hooking them up. So we will go effects out from Mr. Arcade into the effects in of the looper, and then we will go into the mixer out right here. So we should be able to hear Mr. Arcade now. Okay, so let's go. So what I want to do right now is connect the looper to two delays. So let's go effects out from the looper, and then we'll go effects into Mr. Nice and Mr. Glitchy. And from there we can go from Mr. Nice to Mr. Arcade, and then from Mr. Arcade to the mixer, and from Mr. Glitch to the mixer as well. So now Mr. Arcade and Mr. Nice are running in series, while Mr. Glitchy is standalone